at the tail end of a very long night here, covering the breaking news, Donald Trump's apparent victory in the presidential race over Hillary Rodham Clinton. And we have just learned that she will give a speech in the morning. Her campaign chairman came out tonight and said the votes are still being counted. She wouldn't speak. And then after that, we learned that she called Donald Trump to concede. Let's get it over now to Donald Trump's election headquarters and two people who've been covering this race from the get-go, ABC's Candace Smith and John Santucci. Let me just ask quickly, let's start with you, Candace, because we talked to John just a little bit earlier. Your reaction, did you see this coming, and what was it like in that room?
I don't think anyone saw this coming, even up until the point at which it was called. We had senior aides who were texting us, who were asking us what we were hearing, who were trying to figure out if we were going to call something. I think at the beginning of the day, there was definitely a cautious optimism. And of course, once we started to see the returns come in, they started to get definitely more optimistic, picking off states that they thought they could win. But I think at the point at which it was called, journalists especially were shocked. His supporters had already started to get boisterous and rowdy, shouting at the networks to start calling it. And then at the point at which it was called, I think it was just shock, because I don't think a senior aide actually texted me and said, "You got to pinch me. I can't believe this is real."
John, as you know, so many people have invested so much hope in Donald Trump. Do you think he can, and do you think he thinks he can deliver on the promises he's made, like building the wall and getting the Mexican government to pay for it, extreme vetting of Muslim refugees, if not an outright ban on Muslims coming into this country, a secret plan to defeat ISIS, lickety-split? Do you think he sees this, if he doesn't deliver, as a major risk?
Well, look, Dan, I think at the end of the day, you have to look at what the Donald Trump candidacy has been, right? There have been so many different ideas. You just ran through a bunch of them right there that have been thrown out across the 512 days that he has been a candidacy for the White House. But that is the question. Can he deliver? Can these programs that he has talked about go into effect? And think about also, Dan, you mentioned the Muslim ban. You know, I remember the day that was announced, December 7th, 2015, Pearl Harbor Day down in South Carolina. After announcing that initial ban, which was actually something that his current, well, not running mate, the Vice President-elect Mike Pence knocked at the time, Trump has now backed off of the Muslim ban, changed it a little bit. Not that it's a total ban on Muslims, but a ban on certain territories. How this goes into effect, look, I think you have to look at a phrase Donald Trump has used over and over and over again. Who knows? And I don't really mean to be tongue-in-cheek like that, but I think when you have seen this candidate and the way this campaign has gone, I really think we have to wait and see how this is all going to develop. There's obviously work to do to build a transition team. We know that Governor Chris Christie has been chairing that effort. We know that the folks around Donald Trump that have been with him on the trail will be very key in that process, Dan. Obviously, Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Obviously, Senator Jeff Sessions. Those are going to be the folks now who are advising Trump as he begins over the next couple of days here to build a government.
We also hear Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, has been quite influential as well. Candace and John, thank you very much for your reporting tonight and for the past 500-plus days. Let's get it back out to my Nightline co-anchor, Juju Chang, who's in Times Square. As we said earlier, she's been talking to some very disappointed Clinton supporters who will hear from their candidate, we have just learned, tomorrow morning. Juju.
Well, Dan, we have here the off-airs who've been covering Clinton throughout this time. Josh Haskell, Liz Krantz, they can tell you a little bit about what their candidate is expected to say in the morning. Go ahead and tell Dan what you're hearing.
Well, we just found out, Dan and Juju, that Hillary Clinton will speak tomorrow, we believe, in Manhattan, but we have not nailed down a location. She is still in the city. She watched returns this evening at the Peninsula Hotel, which is pretty close by, and she has not left that hotel. But we were, of course, not at the hotel. We were at her election night event at the Javits Center. And just walking over here, it was an incredible scene. People leaving in tears, consoling each other, absolutely shocked. At one point, one of our reporters asked me, are these people staying for a concession speech? And I started digging around, and everyone, and the word I kept hearing is, we're in denial, we think she still has a chance. People were just shocked.
Terry Moran said in the earlier segment that what is Hillary Clinton going to be able to say to soothe the hearts and minds of the young women and the girls who were thinking that they were going to break through a big glass ceiling?
Yeah, I mean, well, first, just to pivot off Josh, the campaign, the words cannot explain how shocked this campaign is. Yesterday, I was on the campaign plane with them on their very last flight from Raleigh to New York. They were celebrating with champagne bottles. They thought this was going to have a totally different outcome. So Hillary Clinton, though, did prepare 2 versions of a speech, and she's clearly going to be working on that concession speech now. And she'll be talking about breaking that glass ceiling.
Incredible disappointment tonight from the Clinton Club. Thank you so much. Dan, you've heard so many stories about the shock that was experienced tonight.
And we'll be hearing much more from the candidate tomorrow. Juju, thank you.